This is Ready Set Reiki, a podcast about Reiki, the universal energy life force. From the curious beginner to the seasoned master teacher, welcoming all systems, all lineages, and all levels. Reiki is a journey and not a destination. And on this Ready Set Reiki journey, we refer to ourselves as guides rather than hosts, as we too are traveling, supporting each other, and learning on this Reiki journey as well. And with that said, I am your guide, Tracy C. Wright. Joining me on my journey today is Bob Dove, PhD in Education, Curriculum Design and Supervision, MA in Journalism, BA in English and History, and Secondary Teaching Certification. Recently obtained certification as an Usui, Holy Fire 3 Reiki Master. Yet semi-retired educational consultant, weekly podcaster on YouTube and all major streaming platforms. Your Spiritual Journey with Bob Dove. He has taught high school and university courses and has been an academic dean at 3 different private business schools before becoming an independent education consultant. Also, do periodic grant proposal reviews for the U.S. Department of Labor, currently keeping busy facilitating 2 online spiritual groups, participating in 2 other online spiritual groups, and doing his weekly podcast and offering Reiki to 10 clients a month while trying to finish up a book that he is working on and hoping to publish before the end of the year. Welcome, Bob, to Ready Set Reiki.
It's an honor to be here, Tracy. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me. Clearly, you have a very busy schedule, and so thank you for making the time to take this journey with me. So we will begin. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm mostly raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I was born in Jersey City, New Jersey, but not there very long. I have a wife and 2 children, and I guess we live in the eastern part of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I find that Pittsburgh is an extremely spiritual city in terms of vortex and energy that's here and the number of spiritual connections and the spiritual community here. There's a real sense of a group of light workers here who have formed a community, but there's also a Reiki community. The positive end of COVID allowed there to be a blossoming of online spiritual groups. Many of us who had done personal spiritual groups went online and ended up with people from all over the country joining in and adding to the diversity of outlooks and perspectives that really enriched what was going on. So my wife and I had facilitated a couple KC groups known as the Search for God, if you're familiar with the Association for Research and Enlightenment. And we had a group for 5 years, then took a 5-year break. I started another group that lasted another 5 years. And it's from those communities then that offshoots grew. And we joined a group around A Course in Miracles. That happened actually because my wife and I went to Rwanda for 7 months, and we had sold our home, our cars, most of all our possessions, and spent a good bit of time in Rwanda. While we were there, because there was no television, no radio to speak of, and it got dark at 6 o'clock every night. So because it was near the equator, your day consisted of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So we spent time reading the book, A Course in Miracles. I had it for 2 years before we even opened it. But we decided, okay, this will be a good time to really sit down and go through this book. And we would read paragraphs to each other back and forth, alternating. So that was the beginning of our experience, sort of as a joint spiritual journey through that. Then when we got back, we joined a Course in Miracles group that met in someone's home. I'm going to get to another question, like, when did Reiki enter my life? It was out of the connection of the person who ran that group, who was also a Reiki master, and getting to know her, understanding that I could actually help people heal. And I thought, how could I not take advantage of that opportunity to help people heal? I was just so drawn to that concept, thinking that all of us have that capability, have that possibility. And what a shame that so many of us don't take advantage of that or don't even know about it as a possibility. So that was actually in August of 2021 that she did Reiki on myself. She did Reiki on my wife. And I said, boy, this is the way to go. Got to do this. So anyway, that kind of moved into my whole Reiki experience.
Wonderful. So would you say that Reiki found you or you found Reiki?
Oh, what a good question. Yeah, that was kind of a mutual situation, I guess. At the time, I guess I thought I found Reiki. But when you put it that way, we found each other.
Found each other. Beautiful, beautiful. So you've been having a wonderful relationship with the Reiki energy for a few years now. You have your own podcast. So what is the common misperception about your work? So you're out seeking like 10 clients a week that you're working on, or a month, I'm sorry. Well, that would be nice for a week, right? So.
The way that came about, actually, was that I also have a Qigong teacher,
Mhm.
and she's a Reiki master. Now, she was involved with Usui Holy Fire Reiki. My original instructor did not know about Holy Fire when she learned it. So I had Reiki 1 and 2 from my original instructor, and I mentioned to her, even though I appreciated her a lot, I was going to ask somebody else to do my master training because it would be Holy Fire.
Yes.
And she said, oh, well, I want to become certified in Holy Fire too. So the two of us took it together. And that was interesting and kind of fun. So that doesn't get to your question, though. I guess your question was about misconceptions.
Sure. And there can be misconceptions about Holy Fire as well. So, yeah, so we can take it on the journey there. As you were out there exploring and, you're connecting with so many people in your podcast, you have your clients. What is that misconception that you are seeing that people maybe think or believe about Reiki that is really not rooted in truth?
I guess a couple of them are connected. One is that the energy is coming from me. Like they say, aren't you exhausted? How can you do 5 people in a row in one day and not go home just totally completed, depleted? And I say, no, the energy is not coming from me. It's coming through me. And as it comes through me, it energizes me. It's a gift to me. So you may see this as I'm providing you with a gift. but I'm getting that same gift myself at the same time. And I come away from this day energized, not depleted.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's what people believe. They think you're doing the healing and it's not coming from you. That client is pulling it out of you. So you should feel supercharged. And if you're not, then you're mixing your energy up and you got to reset, regroup, and
Yeah.
say, okay, no. And as you know, people who are empaths tend to want to help. So by just being
Right.
that open channel to allow it to flow, and it has its own intelligence.
So that's part of it. The other piece is, do I need, as a client, do I need to keep coming back to you and, to get more of this energy? We talk to them about not becoming dependent on the Reiki master. The idea is for you to learn how to do this for yourself so that you don't need me. I don't want you to keep coming back. I mean, certainly come back as frequently as you need to be able to grasp how to do this for yourself. But we'll go through that and try to give them clues along the way. And if they want some more personal instruction, then provide them with a course. But do not become dependent on your Reiki practitioner, your Reiki master.
Right. And I like how you framed it, leave clues, because it allows them the opportunity to discover it and piece it together.
I'm not healing you, you're healing yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, as that weekly podcaster on YouTube and all your major streaming platforms of your spiritual journey, what has been the biggest challenge or rather struggle you faced in your spiritual journey?
Well, I have to say, I have this condition called essential tremors. So when I first began doing Reiki, and it was hands-on Reiki, I got feedback, especially from my wife, saying, you shouldn't do hands-on because that sort of disrupts that sense. So then I went strictly to hands-off Reiki. And that didn't feel right in every situation either. So I went back to doing a combination of hands off, hands on, depending on the client and talking them through and just say, you might notice my hand shake a little, but that's because there's so much energy coming through those hands.
They're right. You're right.
They shake a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I recently had a client tell me, do not get rid of your tremors. He was somebody who uses singing bowls. And he said the vibration from your hands matched the vibration frequency coming out of my singing bowls. And it really meant a lot to me that I could feel that same vibration tuning in frequency wise. So that's been my biggest challenge is
Sure.
figure out how to deal with that.
And also, too, that client's going to come to you for you. Whatever, you're dealing with, it's going to be perfect and it's going to resonate. And bringing in the Holy Fire is wonderful as well, because William Rand brings in these beautiful experiences. Also, we can color it as meditations that you can guide your clients through, so that that light from the highest heaven can shine on them. So it's a beautiful collaboration that you're doing to modify for that. But yeah, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's all good. Well, thank you for sharing that. So what is something that you wish your younger self knew about your current profession?
I guess I wouldn't call it a profession. Because in some ways it's a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, believe it or not, I don't charge for this, and that would
Beautiful.
it would upset a lot of Reiki practitioners probably. But what we do is actually my initial Reiki master instructor, and then my Holy Fire Reiki master instructor, and myself. The three of us do Reiki together on a client. So we just do half-hour sessions, but you're getting the power of 3 Reiki masters all at the same time.
Absolutely. Oh, that's supercharged. Yeah.
And we do it at my church.
Mm-hmm.
So we do it for free for a donation to the church.
That's beautiful.
And that in turn pays the church for the space that they're giving us. So it's a
Sure.
space they normally would rent.
Yes. Yes.
So it works out for all of us.
Oh, yeah. And there's still that energy exchange, of service, but you're just paying it forward. So that's beautiful. So when it's time for you to get that energetic tune up, or when you're seeking that teacher who's just right for you, what are some qualities you look for in a Reiki practitioner or Reiki teacher?
There are a couple things, I guess, but the main thing is that they go beyond the physical. So I'm not looking for somebody who knows the hand placements and what to do and how many minutes to each of those chakras. I admit that when I first learned and when I was a Reiki 1 practitioner and I practiced for a year before I took Reiki 2, it was focused on the hand positions, block, so that I spent 5 minutes on each position and had the client roll over and then do 5 on each position on the back. That felt very mechanistic, I guess. I guess would be the term.
Sure.
It still worked. There's no doubt about that I got results. But then I got beyond that and was able to feel more about, how much time to spend in each location, or, that location didn't need it. And besides that, the Reiki energy finds where it needs to go. In some ways, doesn't matter where you're focused, the energy knows where it needs to flow. So it just takes time to learn that, to get the feel for it, and to expand your horizons, I guess.
Absolutely. And many of us, not all of us, but many of us, when we arrive at level 1, that ego's still there. So we need to feel we're involved in some way, right? I have to put my hand here. I have to do this. I have to follow the rules, and so you want to make sure you're doing everything right. And then as you grow, as your love for this grows and you are just letting go and just trusting the process, then you can place that aside and go more intuitive and just, step back and let the Reiki do what it needs to do. So it's all a process. So on my day 1, too, I was making sure I was, I got to put the hands here. How long has it been? And it was, again, mechanical, as you said. But then now, as I've gone a little further down in my journey, it just flows. It just flows.
Right.
So you're exactly where you are supposed to be in trusting the process. So wonderful.
That I learned that seemed to be helpful with clients is to use a pendulum and do a before and after. So show them the spin that pendulum has over each chakra. It gives you an idea of where the energy is flowing and where it isn't flowing and where there might be some blockages. And then afterwards, show them again, and you see the increase in spin, or even at sometimes, especially with the root chakra, where there's no spin at all, and suddenly there's spin. And you get a sense of accomplishment, even though you didn't do it. You facilitated it, and you have a sense of, okay, now you're in alignment, things are flowing, and I can show you physically so that if you're not feeling it yet, you're going to feel it.
Sure. And, as when we go in for our training, there's always, showing you the Biosen scanning, where you're taking that non-dominated hand and you're feeling the energy. But by taking it that next step to the pendulum, the client actually sees it because they're wondering, why are you moving the hand? You can feel it, but by you showing visually, here's a pendulum. Look at it. and they can see to make that connection. Some people are very visual. Some people need to see that to, oh my goodness, that's amazing, versus the beginning and the end. They need that baseline.
Yeah. Just as an anecdotal piece of information, my son would say to me, well, how do you know the energy is increased? How do you know? And I do Qigong every morning, and then I do it with a live person once a week. Not that I do it with dead people the other days. Uh, I do it online to a YouTube instructor, but once a week I have a live instructor, and I told him that I feel energized at the end of the Qigong experience. So what I did, we were on vacation with my son and daughter-in-law, as well as my daughter and son-in-law. So the six of us were on vacation, and I was going to do my usual Qigong routine, and his wife was doing her yoga routine. And I asked his wife to measure my aura before and then after the Qigong routine. And she said, oh, do that for me too. So we both measured our auras using a pendulum, then did the Qigong routine. And both my aura and her aura doubled in size after 17 minutes of Qigong. So I was able to present him with proof, because he'd believe his wife. He might not believe his dad, but he'd believe his wife. But it was a palpable way to show the difference in that energy field.
Yeah.
So.
What a wonderful way to show that. Some people need to see the proof, right?
Right.
It's about trusting the process. Yeah. So what advice would you give someone who's just entering this profession, or, as you said, hobby?
Well, one is, don't rush it. I mean, I'm glad that I spent a year at each level. I know that there are instructors out there who over a weekend will give you Reiki 1 and Reiki 2. And maybe I'm biased because that's the way I went through it gradually. But I had enough experience by the time I hit Reiki 2 and had done enough clients that I had a good sense of, what that next step would mean. This may sound a little different, but I would say work with your spirit guides and work with your client spirit guides. So definitely bring them into the mix. Don't feel like you're on your own when you're doing this. It's a cooperative effort. I was lucky enough, as I was getting Reiki before I even started training in it, to have two people working with me, two Reiki masters who were very much in touch with spirit guides, both theirs and mine, and could bring me messages. I'm not at that level yet where I can give people messages or get messages from them, but I still know that in the room I'm not alone. So it's a joint effort. And the main thing is, I guess, is to listen to your intuition. Let your intuition be your guide, because your gut knows. And if you'll listen to your intuition, follow your intuition, the more that you follow it, the more you're going to get. So the more open you are to that, the more help you'll have and the more effective you'll be.
And make sure to thank those guides, right? Spirit guides, guardian angels, and give them Reiki. Give them Reiki as well.
Yeah.
So this is certainly a spiritual journey, and you're right. We're not alone. You have a whole legion here supporting you.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So what books do you recommend?
Okay, it's a long list. I guess I will start, and I don't want to take my voice away from the mic, with something that I just recently discovered. It's called The Lost Steps of Reiki. and it's channeled teachings of Wei Qi. Wei Qi is Chinese. He is channeled by Thomas Hensel and Kevin Ross Emery, and they basically were able to provide information about pieces of the process that have been lost, and that if you add these in, it's a lot richer. So that's one of them. Another is Reiki Shamanism, a guide to out-of-body healing by Jim Pathfinder Ewing. So you're shaking your head like you're familiar with these. Well, as long as you've had your podcast, maybe there's nothing new to you.
I'm always learning, always learning. I'm sure out of the books you have there'll be some new additions to my library.
I'm sure you heard of this, Essential Reiki.
Essential Reiki, yep.
By
Wonderful.
Diane Stein. And my sister's been a Reiki master for many, many, many years. And this is the book that was her guide. Then there's the Reiki Teacher's Manual by Tina Zion. I'm just going to mention then a couple that I don't have with me. Self-Healing Reiki by Barbara Emerson. Reiki for Beginners by David Venellis, Bennells. And then, of course, there's William Lee Rand's books. So The Healing Touch, first and second degree. And then, of course, Usui, Holy Fire Reiki 3. That's my list.
Thank you for sharing that. It's a wonderful list. Our listeners they're going to be buying up some books. Thank you for that. So our next question is, what other modalities do you offer? Do you offer classes, and do you offer events, trainings?
I've just begun to offer training. I had someone at my church actually come to me and ask if I would do a training class. And so we talked about that, and I told her, well, you could get it half price if you bring a second person in.
Beautiful. That's a good marketing strategy. Very good. Yeah.
Well, she felt like it was a little expensive for her. And I said, well, if you want it half price, bring someone in.
Sure.
And so she's doing that. And she may bring additional people in, but we'll see.
That's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So where can somebody find you if they would like to book a session? Are you doing online, in person?
Well, I guess if you go to my website, which is yourspiritualjourneypodcast.com, and you go to the contact tab, that's one way to find me. So that's probably the best thing to do is just go to the website and click on contact.
Perfect. And you have your information on your YouTube channel, correct?
Correct. Yeah. It's yourspiritualjourneypodcast.com. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, this ends our one portion of the journey, and I'm going to continue on with you on the journey to social media questions. So listeners send in questions, and I narrow it down to 3 questions. So here we go. Question number 1. When you decided to study a system of Reiki, what was the appeal of the Usui Holy Fire 3 versus other systems of Reiki?
Okay, I have to say that when I first began to study Reiki, I was not aware of Holy Fire Reiki because my instructor wasn't. So, I mean, we still use the William Rand materials, but did not get involved in Holy Fire. And as I explained before, then she took Holy Fire with me. And we both learned it together at the master's level. So the appeal, I guess, has been the people. I took Holy Fire from my Qigong teacher, and I already knew her well. She'd already been on my podcast, as a matter of fact. The fact that she had that certification made me feel, okay, I trust her. I'm already familiar with her methods in terms of Qigong and the kind of energy she brings to a situation. And she took the curriculum and divided each day of the curriculum into 2 days, which I really appreciated. So I got it over 6 sessions, which gives you that time in between sessions to really understand and incorporate what you've learned from one session to the next. So it happened over a 6-week time period, which again, I like the idea of take your time with it. Don't rush through the training.
Yes, yes. Yeah, oftentimes they do Hitachi style, which is day one and then the very next day. So, but the way when I did Holy Fire, it was Hitachi style day one and day two. But when I did my Usui a few years ago, it was you took the training and then you took 21 days of self Reiki, and you didn't get your certificate until the end of the 21 days. You had to say your principles. You worked on yourself. You had assignments to do. Then after the 21 days, you met with your master teacher, and then you got your certificate. So that was what I did on level 1. So that just shows you how diverse it is out there in the world. You just have to, find the right teacher, and you found the one that,
Right.
gave you exactly what you needed at the pace that you needed. So kudos to that. Okay.
Yeah, there's that. Plus, I know that she's with me. Like when I start doing the training,
Yes.
she just says, I'm with you all the way. Any questions you have,
Oh,
anything
absolutely.
you
Absolutely.
want from me, I'm there.
Yeah, and you need to find, a strong teacher that will be with you on this journey. I mean, many go online and they're like, "Oh, well, I can take level 1 for $14 online versus your program that's this amount of money." But yeah, it's great to have a resource online to watch the videos, but you really need to have that teacher to help guide you and be that support, because there's so many questions beyond that first day of training. I mean, and things come up, and even my teacher, I had a message her last week about something that came up in my journey. So it's always good to have that support system. So I'm glad you have that.
I guess I should give a shout out to her. Her name is Laura Budde, Budde. She's been on my podcast twice, the only person who's been on there twice so far. So anyway, she does yoga, qigong, and tai chi classes, as well as teaching Reiki. So
Wonderful, wonderful. Is she in the Pittsburgh area as well? Does she do online or in person?
she does both, but she's in Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, our second question. I read that you lead and participate in online spiritual groups. Can you tell me a little bit about those groups?
Okay, I did mention earlier that I started doing groups with the Edgar Casey material many years ago. So I was used to doing groups. I had joined a group when we got back from Rwanda that studied A Course in Miracles, and then that ended up going online, and I moved to a group that's online out of Ohio with Now Creations. They started working on a book called Oneness that is a channeled book by Rasha. And they were doing it once a month. And myself and a couple of other people who I had done groups with before said, once a month isn't enough. We need to do this every week. So I said, okay. So my wife and I started a oneness group. I guess we did that for about a year and a half to get through that particular channel book. And now that group has moved into another book called I Am by Howard Falco. I got the author to come to our first group meeting on Zoom, and it was interesting to have the author of the book that we were going to do the book study group with there with us, talking about how he created this book and how it came about to begin with. I also then got engaged with a book called The Energy Codes by Sue Morter, and I was introduced to them at the Northeast Reiki retreat the first time that I went there. Sharon Madison, and you may know Sharon or of Sharon, and she's been on my podcast, was representing a book that she's written called Spirit Speaks, as well as the Sue Morter Energy Codes, because she helped facilitate some of the breakout groups that Sue Morter's Energy Codes group would do. She agreed to join my online group to help us work through the Energy Codes book. So we're about 80% of the way through that book now.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Well, this leads in perfectly with our next question, as you recently attended the Northeast Reiki retreat along with 80 other practitioners. Can you tell us a little bit about this Northeastern retreat?
Yeah, it was just this past weekend. In fact, I'm still recuperating from the drive back because I drove up from Pittsburgh and back. And I stopped at Sharon Madison's house on the way because she lives in Cortland, New York, and it was on my way up to the Adirondacks. I can't recommend that retreat enough. I mean, it was my third year going up there. It was my first year having a booth, having a table to promote the podcast, to promote the authors who have been on my podcast. I had a display of their books. And I also took up some of Sharon Madison's book because she couldn't make it up there. So I said, why don't you just give me a couple boxes of books and I'll take them up. And they all sold out. So that did pretty well. I took my sister up with me. She flew in from Arizona, and we drove up together. And I took a bag of runes that she had given me and a book of runes so that she could do rune readings. And so that was something else we were able to offer, free rune readings. And as she said, she got voluntold that she was going to do this because I sprung it on her at the last. I just said, if you get bored, you can do rune readings. Well, there's no way you can get bored at the Northeast Reiki retreat. It's held at the Silver Bay YMCA, just off of Lake George, and it is just gorgeous. And if you go up there, I recommend you walk the labyrinth. Last weekend was International Labyrinth Day. One of those days, I forget exactly which day. But there was actually a group of people up there from a labyrinth organization who were getting trained in how to facilitate walks through a labyrinth. And I'm going to have one of those people on my podcast because I've always wanted to have someone who could address the background and the spirituality of labyrinths. There were two, because this was my third time up there, and looking through the agenda, there were two things that stood out to me that said, I've got to catch that presentation. So one of them was animal Reiki. And although I don't do animal Reiki, I'm very interested in it. And I have a cat, and I have done Reiki on my cat. The pieces of that stood out. One is that there's this collective of animal spirits that we can connect to. And in addition to an assortment of pets and wild animals that are part of that collective, are a couple humans, because humans are animals too. And the discussion from the presenter, a couple of things that really stood out for me. One was that she was working with some horses, doing Reiki on horses. And this pairing of horses had been together in the paddock for 20 years. And one of those pair had passed on. And she was very concerned about the horse that was left behind and the grieving process. So she was able to communicate with that horse. The communication that she got from the horse was that humans don't know how to grieve, that they grieve too long and they hold that grief inside. And if you hold that grief inside too much, or you try to ignore it and suppress it, that you're asking for trouble. And that grief can then become a physical condition and a real problem for you. And he told her that he would grieve for about 2 weeks very heavily, and then maybe a couple more weeks, just a little less, and then make it a point to release the spirit of his partner. Because if he didn't release that spirit, then when he passed on, he couldn't join her. So this gave him the opportunity to feel the grief, transmute it, and then let it go. And he said if humans would learn to do that, they would be much better off. Well, because the presenter was also a reverend who did marriages and funerals, the next time she did a funeral, she used that example and presented that to the people at the funeral. She got so much appreciation from the family for having given that gift to them, that grieve heavily, grieve lighter, and then let it go. And it just meant so much to them. So that was something that really touched me and made me think, okay, that's a great way to look at grief. The other message that she got from this collective of animal spirits was that she was not interested in doing Reiki on humans, because she just felt humans were destroying this planet. And she was more interested in helping animals because they were more in tune with Gaia and they were taking care of the planet. So that collective just said, you got it all wrong. Humans are animals too. You gotta realize that they're part of this animal kingdom. We're all working together, and we think that humans are beautiful. You are wonderful, and you're doing a great job. And rather than focus on the negative, if you take a look at all the positive things that are going on and the beauty of the human race, and see yourself as beautiful, then you get the idea that we're all in this together and we're all one. And that whole message from the Bible of you have dominion over the earth is a mistranslation. You know, it's not about dominion, it's about communion.
Right. We're all on the same level. Yeah, that's a beautiful energy, animal Reiki, the ICRT. It is one just of abundance. And in that animal kingdom, you know, the caretakers are there in the human being. You're the human being in the circle with the animal kingdom.
So I just love those messages. And the other one was Sarah, and you said you just interviewed Sarah, and her presentation on fascia. I really enjoyed her first presentation, that she did on fascia, and this was the follow-up one to that. And to understand how photons work in your body, and that we are light beings already, and that, you just need to spread that light, and that you are the light of the world. That's an important message.
Right. Wonderful. Yeah, when she was telling me about that, she had me at fascia as a yoga teacher. So I specialize in yin, where we bring in, fascia work. So I love that. Love that. Well, that ends our third question. Is there anything else that, as we were talking, you wanted to share, or maybe something that you forgot? So this is your time to add on anything that you feel called to share with the listeners.
We've shared so much already. I just feel that if you're a listener who's relatively new to Reiki, be compassionate with yourself. Give yourself time. Know that it's a cooperative effort, that you're not in this alone. Get your ego out of the way, and we've talked about that already. Just be a vessel. Just be a channel for it, and enjoy it. Allow it to energize you as well as your clients. Another message from the Reiki retreat was that you can do Reiki on anything and everything. It doesn't have to be a person. It doesn't have to be an animal. It can be your car. It can be the future. It can be your past. The Reiki energy is there to be shared and infused and used. All we are is energy. Everything is energy. It's a matter of how dense is it, or how light is it, what the frequency of it is, but everything's energy. So we participate in an energy field that connects us all. There's a communication in that field that's to be had and accessed by anybody. And quantum physics is showing us that. The term quantum physics may feel scary to some people, but there are some really good books out there that translate the findings of quantum physics into easily accessible material that help you use the results of that research. I've read 3 or 4 books on quantum physics that are written in layman's terms, because I'm definitely not a scientist, but I enjoy and participate in the benefits of that science. To any Reiki practitioner, if you haven't taken a look at what's going on in quantum physics, I highly recommend that. So I guess I said I didn't have much to say, but
and here you are on the journey. Very good. And also for our listeners, you made this wonderful, point of Reiki everything. And as you went back to your, sharing about the animal Reiki, as we are on that same level, just as you would a human to get consent and permission to give that Reiki, get the animal's consent as well. You want the animal to have a role in this too and have a say in it. So, so always ask for permission, always ask for consent.
And that goes beyond animals. It's the same
Absolutely.
with plants.
Yes, and trees. Right. Absolutely. You are correct. Wonderful. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you, Bob, for joining me on this journey and taking time out of your very busy schedule to just really take us on this wonderful journey. I really learned a lot on it. Thank you so much.
Well, it's been a joy and fun and an honor, and I expect you to appear on my podcast
Okay.
in the future.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Thank you, my wonderful listeners. If you are interested in your question being featured on the show, reach out at www.readysetreiki.com and social media, and perhaps your question will be on the show. Also check out Feather Sister Wellness, a platform of yoga trainings, Reiki and Reiki trainings online for you and also in person in the Paso area. So my name is Tracy Seawright, and this has been Ready Set Reiki.